Lila Nishmas, Esther, pastor of Shmuel Yitzchak, the Shamash Avali. It's the mother of Ari Bacon, and Baruch Hashem, she was like to see Dari Darius of Bali Yerushalayim, Milas Toivos, and the schus of a Torah, and her son, grandson, sons, the Shamash Avali. Okay, so we're up to Chaf Zayin Amid Beis. Chaf Zayin Amid Beis at the end. This daf is a very interesting daf. It's if you remember Misha Achsu and Gittin, we had all the remedies, all these really weird remedies. This is another daf, at least the Amid Beis, of some really weird remedies. The only people interested will be Doc Hillel, who's been kind enough to come in. As he's going up to the country, is that possible?
No, I'm going to the hospital, but I'm going to try to come in right after. I got an emergency, but I'm going to listen till then.
You'll have a whole new protocol if you listen.
Yeah, yeah.
And Dr. Lenny, of course, we're gonna have all the eyes, and so this is going to be blog will be very full of knifeful, if you will. Okay, says the Gemara. I'm a Rabbi Barachana. I'm Rabbi Yochanan. Any makkah that we mechal Shabbos, Rashi, the hainu makkah sakana. In other words, you get hit, and it's a sakana. Any of that, aval she'ein, but then that aim misrapin behem. Then you would not have what a goy cure you. You couldn't know. You couldn't go to a goy if the makkah you were hit with something that's so severe you'd be mechal Shabbos. In that case, you will not go ahead. What? Okay. However, However, let's say it's a makkah that was not a sakana, then you could go. So Rashi addresses a kasha right away. Says Rashi, Kol makkah shemechalon le'es Shabbos, dahainu makkah sakana. That you can't go to a goyish doctor, a goy. I said doctor, a goy. Aval she'ein bo sakana misapoyin. For Leslie, the Rabbi Yehuda, the Afilu Rivda, the Kusilta loy masila. We saw yesterday, guys, that if they went to a blood letter, and that is not a sakana at all. Rabbi Yehuda said, even for that you can't go. But the inference from Rabbi Yochanan is only if it's something that's severe you can't go. Because again, if it's severe, he'll have no qualms about killing you. But if it's something that's not so severe, then you could go. And he's arguing Rabbi Yehuda, who says for something that's so severe, you can't go. That's the way Rashi learns. Again, we're not speaking right from Mumcha. We're not speaking right from Mumcha is a different ballgame. Okay, let's see Taisus that addresses some of these issues. So the bottom Taisus. Kol makkah shemachalon le'es Shabbos, ein misrapoyin mehen. Upirish HaKuntris, upalig the Rabbi Yehuda, the Amal Le'el, afilu rivda the Kesilta le'meslina minayu, you won't go ahead and do it. Okay. Taisus asks the kasha, and Taisus disagrees with Rashi. Let's skip the kasha and go to Lekach Nira, 3 lines down after that. Lekach Nira L'Rabbeinu Tam. Lekach Nira L'Rabbeinu Tam. Devadei le pligi. Rabbi Yochanan is not arguing on Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yochanan Iri B'choyle. Rabbi Yochanan is saying the person's sick. Ubeyesh by sakana. Gein mako shemechalon le'as Shabbos. Ein l'srabbos behem. Why? Why can't you go if you're so sick that you can be mechal Shabbos into a Jew? Why can't you go to a goy? Because the doctor is not going to go ahead and lose his reputation. Ki im yamus, right? Because if he dies, the matzi l'shamute v'loymar mesukin haya. Good. So in other words, you know why you can't go? Because since you're a sakana, he'll kill you, and guess what? His reputation will take a plunge because you were holding by dying anyway. Even if he's not a mumcha, he's not going to kill it. In other words, if someone goes in for some minor something and he dies right away, it raises alarms. So therefore, you could go because since you're not so sick. So Rabbi Yehuda, the way Taisus is learning in Rabbi Yochanan, the person's sick. And sick, so what's the difference between sakana and not sakana? If it's a sakana, and therefore we can be toilet the misa in the natural sickness of the person, we're scared he's going to kill you. Because if you die, it's not going to cost him his reputation. On the other hand, if it's what a chayla that ain't by sakana, then you could go to the goyish doctor because he's not going to go ahead and lose his reputation because there's no way out. There's no excuse. If he kills you, it's going to go ahead and cost his reputation. Aval bibari, a healthy person, kigoin rivdo de kusilta mia asa. That would be asa according to Rabbi Yochanan. Sha'obi kechavim mazikai, because Obi kechavim ve'ina choishish. He'll damage him, and he won't be considerate. Why? Kiloi mari nafshe, because hang in there. Kiloi mari nafshe, because what? Because he won't lose his reputation. Im yimisenu sheyomru ha'olam bevadai b'mezid hiziku v'fnei shu sanai. In other words, if this guy goes to a Riv the Kasilta, goes to a guy that's not sick at all, right? He's not sick at all, right? He's not sick. There's no sickness whatsoever. He's a healthy person. So if he kills him, he'll say, you know why he killed him? Because he hated him. So it won't cost him his reputation. He hated him. He hated him. So says Taisus, there is no machloikis between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yochanan is speaking about an unhealthy person, a chayla, and the chilik between unhealthy to sakana versus not sakana. By sakana, he'll kill you because he'll be toilet that the reason you're dead is because you were sick. On the other hand, if it can't be toilet, you don't have anything to worry about. Rabbi Yehuda is discussing a healthy person. A healthy person. So in other words, since he's a healthy person, and all he's going in for what is some type of, let's say he's a doctor, and you're going in for some type of that, he's not going to cost his reputation. Why? Because he's not sick at all. He's not sick at all. Therefore, Rabbi Yehuda says, don't go, because he'll kill you. Why he'll kill you? Won't cost his reputation. Kiusa. Yes, what's your point? You just had to wait. You just had to wait. Okay, so now go down to the bottom, right? Let's go down to the bottom of Taisus. B'chol ma she'amarnu. Guys, you have it? 2 lines from the bottom in the middle. B'chol ma she'amarnu. About 6 or 7 words in. The second line in bottom of the Amid. B'chol ma she'amarnu she'asa b'bari v'chayla she'esh sakana. All that I said by it's us by a healthy person or a chayla that is sakana. Haina b'roifei she'enei mumcha. This is speaking of roifei that's not a mumcha. Aval b'mumcha muta. You know why? Because of mumcha's reputation, no matter what. Kidam Rabbi Yochanan la'el. So Taisus is addressing very well your issue, right? And that's why we're samichan lahakis dam and Rabbi Kechavim. Again, bloodletting was very, very popular. Bloodletting was very popular. This is something very interesting. Do you ever see in the old barbershops, they had that red thing going around? That was for bloodletting, I believe so. Yeah, bloodletting. What? And circumcision? Baruch, you make me creepy.
That didn't work exactly.
That's good. Anyway,
Let's do one thing. Person's gonna die.
Yeah.
Right?
If-
That's what
if-
it means, sakana,
No.
right? So, what's better, if you should die, that means he's sakana.
What?
What
no,
is
he's
worse,
gonna kill you. In other words, you're
sakana.
sakana. So it's not no, but I mean, go to a Jewish doctor. You don't have a
Let's
heta.
say you can't get the one.
It's still again. So we saw yesterday is an opinion about Chaye Shah. Safik you do. There was an opinion like that. There was an opinion above like that. Anyway, so therefore Taisus says the slamich that they would go to the blood letters. All the blood letters are considered what experts. So Taisus guys gives you Yehuda, right? A beautiful Hagdara. Taisus is giving a Hagdara to the whole sugya. You got to find the right Taisus, guys. This is the right. Rashi's learning that Rabbi Yochanan and Yehuda are arguing. Rabbi Yochanan says that what if it's Ein Basakana you can go, and he says not. He says no. He's speaking about totally different. Rabbi Yochanan is speaking about a sick person. Rabbi Yehuda is speaking about a healthy person. By a sick person, it depends. If he's very, very sick, right? Sakana, you can't go because he'll kill you. And say he was sick anyway, healthy, not so sick. He's worried about his reputation, right? By a bari, you can't even go for that because he'll say, because since he's not sick, so obviously, obviously what? It won't harm his reputation. That if you kill him, it won't harm your reputation because he wasn't sick. He's a doctor. And all this Taisa says that he's not a mumcha. If he's a mumcha, then he always worries about his reputation side by side, and therefore that is the heta for going to.
Isn't every doctor considered a mumcha?
No, I guess not in those days. No, in nowadays, in nowadays.
No, you worry about a reputation.
Let me ask you a question. Today, you have people who graduate medical school, yet they're not competent. They're not competent. You want your recommendation, someone's sick, you call up, what's his name, Shuki Berman, he'll give reputation for doctors who are capable, right? These are mumchim.
The doctors are out to kill you. If the guy's a rofe, whether he's a mumcha or not.
Again, we don't paskin this way. Again, in those days, it must have been different. They could have been practicing, who knows what type of medicine. And again, we said that this was only, and based upon the Meiri, these pagans who were mamish what by the Zorah. No doctor's going to kill you, bisman hazeh. Even if he's a Catholic, and even killed.
They had nurses here in the United States that they went on like they wanted to kill the Jews. They got fired. So.
Okay, so times have changed. I mean, push it anyway. Okay, so now let's go over the Gemara again. We got everything. I think a lot of this thesis gives us a lot of information. Really, this thesis gives you a tremendous amount of information. And now we have two lashonos. The first lashon is Rabbi Barachan Rabbi Yochanan. Any makkah you mimchal Shabbos, you can't go to a Goyish doctor. Vikad Yamri Amar Rabbi Barachan Rabbi Yehuda. There's another opinion. What Rabbi Barachan is the name of Rabbi Yochanan. Kol makkah she'in cholol shel cholol ein misrapin bahem. Any makkah shel cholol, Rashi says b'chol gufa. Any makkah that's connected the cholol guf, guys. That the cholol guf is going to say is from the mouth down. Anything that's ein misrapin bahem. My binayu, says Rashi. My binayu. He. There is no difference in Ikedi Amri, Rabbi Rachan Rabbi Yochanan. There's no difference between makkah imachal Shabbos and a makkah that's connected the cholol, the cavity of the body. Why? The kaimel and perik beis the yuma. I don't know if it's perik beis. The chol makkah shel cholol mechal and le'as Shabbos. Any makkah connected the chol mechal Shabbos. So lechora, Fred the Gemara. What's the difference in the Lishonos of Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Rachana? The first one, if it's Mechal Shabbos, you can't go to a guy, and a regular guy contacts a regular doctor. Or the second lashon that any makkah that's connected the cholol, and Rashi tells us that Gemara and Yuma that Mechal Shabbos for that. So Lechari, they're telling us the same thing. So the Gemara answers, Ikebinayu is gav yad v'gav haregel, on the back of the hand and the back of the foot. What's the difference? Some Rav Adabar Masna, Rav. Gava yad v'gava regel harihin k'makal shel cholol. So loit the lashon of what? Of makal shel cholol, you would what? U'mechal l'as Shabbos. Like that, you would not be able to go to a doctor. And the first lashon, the what? It's only that you mechal Shabbos, then l'chayra you would not be able to go. I think that's what Rashi says. Gav yad mechal Shabbos af b'sheina shel cholol lishnekama a misrapoyena. Lishnekama, you would not be able to go to it, not get help. And you would. The hoil mischaze, since you could see it, ichazi the mekalkalba lachach leilasama mavirai. In other words, the nafkamina would be if you get hit on your hand, you're going to go to a guy to cure it. He's going to put on some ointment. Like the first lashon, since you be mechal Shabbos on that, you would not be able to go to a guy. Like the second lashon's connected the cholol, since this is out in the open. It's right, even though it has the lach of cholol, since it's out in the open, if anything would go wrong, you'd be able to take it off. Therefore, you can go to the reife of the guy, that not a mumcha, because you don't have that concern. So that would be the difference between the two lashonos. Amarav v'zutra bar Tuvia amarav kol makkah shetzrichu oimed. Any makkah that you need an you have to go ahead and evaluate the severity of it. Mechal l'as Shabbos. So this is not a din a goyish din. This is a din one in chil Shabbos. It's pikuach nefesh. Like what's he saying? So I'm not. What the Ritva say? What the Ritva say? What the Ritva say? Okay, I don't recall, but I'm gonna get it. What was the Ritva? The Gemara said that if it's a makkah that needs an oimed, you mechal Shabbos on it. And this is a din in Hilchos Shabbos. It's not a din mad. Not a din with the goy, it's a din Hilchos Shabbos. The Chen Gersus Rashi, Uperish shemisukenes kol kach, the person's so sick, shetzarich oimed, that you need what? An evaluation, la'omda yem yichya yem yamas, whether the liver will die. Ad kan. That's Vitema. My kamash malon. What's the Gemara telling me? What is Rav Shomim bar Abba? What is my Zutra bar Tuvia telling me? Chayra, it's a Mefurish Mishnah, right? The pshita, the suffix the fashasu. It's a suffix the fashas. Suffix the fashas, guys. Right? Rav Chaim said those who are machmir in suffix the fashas are the meko in shrichas dom. Yeah. Anyway, B'tema, my kamash malon, v'yesh leiman, the whole kamash malon. Shem ein kan roifim, there's no doctor. V'gam choyla, and he's sick, ein ha'ema klum, and the choyla doesn't say anything. Kimun shi musukenes kol kach, sheniris leinenu, shetzricha refuah, v'yesh basafik misa, v'chal mesa Shabbos, namtim roifim. You don't have to wait for a doctor. That's the chiddush over here. Again, stamazoi, to be mechal Shabbos, not an easy thing. There's a suffix of this person you could be mechal Shabbos. Since the chiddush of Rav Shomim is that you can be mechal Shabbos without a doctor telling you that the person is going to die. So in other words, just the fact that you would have to ask the shaila is enough for what? For mechal Shabbos. That's the chiddush. Amar Rav Shomim bar Abba. That was so. It's Abzucha bar Tuviu said. I'm sorry. Amar Rav Shomim bar Abba. Amar Yochanan. V'hai ishta tzemirta. This fever. This ishta tzemirta, this high fever, is kimaka shel chalal dami, u'machal me'as Shabbos yimachal Shabbos. So the art scroll brought down from Rav Moshe, guys, interesting psak. What's considered a fever that you machal Shabbos on? 102. Moshe said 102, and listen what he said. 102 if it's caused by a common cold or a headache or something. But if it's caused by an infection, you wouldn't have to wait till 102. You'd be able to mechal Shabbos because of the infection. Yeah. That's what Moshe's psak. I once had something red on my leg. As a doctor put a circle around it to make sure. He says if it goes past this circle, you go right to the hospital. He said, he's worried about the infection spreading. Baruch Hashem, it didn't.
What you do? You raised it and made a bigger circle?
No. I'm not making one. I'm not. Those who are machmin. The lashon of Rav Chaim was those who are machmir in Shabbos on Mekel and Shvichas Dam. Yeah, that's the lesson. Okay, so now, mehechin makash al chalol. When you say makash al chalol, you machal Shabbos. Where does the person get hit in the body? Pirush Rav Ami min hasafa ulifnim, from safa, from your lips and inside. So the question is, what about in your mouth? Is your mouth considered a makal chalol or not? Okay. Boy Rebbe Elazar. Right. Rebbe Elazar asks, Kachi b'shine, that's your gums and your teeth. Mai. Kivin da kusheninu, since they're hard, kemaka de broi dami, it's like an outside maka, and you're not machal Shabbos. I don't look, kivin de gavoi kaimi, since they're inside, right, they have a din of kemaka shal chalo dami, and you're machal Shabbos. That's what the shaila is, if you have a problem with your teeth. Some are by toshma, hachoishes b'shenov, someone who's choishes b'shenov, right? His teeth are, hurting him. Lo yigma behem es achaymitz. You shouldn't go ahead and swallow chaymitz because that would be a refuah, and refuah is not permitted on Shabbos. Choishes hu delay hakavlei. So choishes, which is a lesser level, that you can't go ahead and use a cure for. But kavlei tuva shapidami. What happens if you have a bad toothache? Then l'chayri you could be mechal Shabbos. So it says the Gemara. So let's be pasha the shaila that has a din of chalol. It has a din of chalol since it's located inside the body. It says in Dilma Tana hechi the kavlei tuva choishes nami karle. Maybe what the Tana holds that even if he has a lot of pain, it's considered choishes. It's not too madregus. Ken zayin that a lot of pain is also considered whatever the level of choishes is. So you have no raya. Tashma Rabbi Yochanan chosh bitsabdina. He came down with something called sapdina. It's a disease of the mouth. He went to this matron, this matron Avedas Chachavim. Avda, she made for him a refuah, chamsha on Thursday, umali Shabbata, and on Friday, and Chari was better. Amalei, so he told her, l'machamai, what about tomorrow? Amalei, let's. She said to Rabbi Yochanan, don't worry, you won't need it. So Rabbi Yochanan said, "It's tzirichna mai." And what happens if I don't need it? She goes, "Amra." She said, "Ishtabalid le megalis." Go ahead and swear to me that you won't reveal the cure. After all, she's a business, right? She was a business. Okay. So Ishtabala le lekol Yisrael. Rabbi Yochanan swore le lekol Yisrael, but and loy maglina. Anyway, Glalia. Right. So he said, "Let me go. I'm not going to go ahead and reveal it." Lamacha the next day, Shabbos, Nafik Joshua Pirka. I guarantee you, Rabbi Yochanan had a large following. He went, ahead, and he dashed in Barabim, the cure. Fred the Gemara v'ishtabale lelakod Yisrael le'magalna. So v'ishtabala. So what he answered lelakod Yisrael le'magalna. He swore that he won't reveal it to the God of the Jews. Avlamid Yisrael maglinon. In other words, if you were careful in my words, I'm not being over my shvua, because I said I won't reveal it to God. I Hashem. And for the Gemara, the Golila Meikara, right? Rashi, the Golila Meikara, Misha Shegil Saloi, from the time that she revealed it to him, Amallah, Rabbi Yochanan told her, you should know, Shlei Nishbati, V'leimati, Belakadi Yisrael, Elo Leakadi Yisrael. How this harama goes ahead and helps, I'm not exactly sure, but that seems to be there's raid on this. There's a Shais and Shuvas Chavis Yoyer. I saw brought down in Reb Michal Silba. He said it's asad to do any of this, provided except if you go in form like Rabbi Yochanan did, then it would be. But any even if you do it, you cross your fingers like remember you go ahead, what it's tell a lie and you go like this, like that doesn't work. Alma Kemaka Shal. I mean, the bottom line is you have what you have a. But Rabbi Yochanan asked for a fu on again. He had a problem. This problem, Safdina, is a problem with the teeth. It's a problem with the teeth, and nonetheless, he was able to go ahead and he be machal Shabbos. So l'chayra, you wanted to say we can be paisha the shaila that when it comes to it's a makkah chalol and you could be machal Shabbos. So Rav Nachman by Yitzchak shiny Safdina hoyel maschel bepeh the gunman b'nei mayin. No, you have no raya. If it's stomach toothache, you have no raya. But sabdina, this disease begins in the mouth and spreads down through the body, and therefore you would be able to machal Shabbos, which he was willing to do based upon the remedy that the matronisa gave him. My simon, what's the simon of this disease? Okay, I'm going to use the art scroll now because there's a lot of hard words and very very not words that I'm accustomed to. Anyway, my simon, how's the simon of this disease? So Rami midi bekave, if you put something in your mouth, on your gums, my sidam and meidari, and you have it, and blood comes out. My havi, where does it come from? Nikrire kariri dechiti, if you're eating very cold wheat, umachmimi chamishi desari, or something very hot from barley, or mishiuri kosa dehasana, you have leftover fried fish, hirsch, not something that's kishmak. My avdalei. What was the remedy that she did for Rabbi Yochanan, this matronisa? So Rav Acha Brei the Rava, Meisar, Shemen Zayis Umelach. She took Meisar, that's sourdough water, yeast that was soaked in sourdough, and olive oil and salt. Umar Rav Ashi Omar, Moshcha da Avaza, Begad for the Avza. She went ahead, she took goose fat, put it on his teeth, and then she went ahead, and she applied it with a God for the avza, the feather of a goose. Amar Abaya, I know of the kula. I had this disease, saftina. I did all these things, but none of them worked. Until there was Arab went ahead and told me, I see kashiasa dezesa, bring a pit of an olive, like moli tilsa that didn't grow a third of its growth, the kalnua, and burn it amora charata on the back of a new hoe, the dabek bei derarim, put it on your teeth. And of the hachi v'tasei says, I did this and it worked. Okay, Fred the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan hechi avid hachi. How could he go to this matronista to be cured? I Rabbi Yochanan kol makash shemachal nes Shabbos emes arpayim behen. Again, you guys, we began to share. What Rabbi Yochanan was the balish asugi? What did he say? If it's a disease that you miss arpayim on, you can't go. So the chayra is the makas cholo. Right, and he's worried about spreading, so it's a disease so how could he go to in the first place? What would the answer be? Guys, you can figure it out. She was a mumcha. That's good. Taisus Kashak. She was a mumcha. Okay, that's the answer. So they give a different answer. Adam chashiv shiny, an Adam chashiv is different. In other words, it's an Adam chashiv no one's going to kill because they're scared. He's connected to the government. So you're connected to the government, you're not scared. The Adam chashiv have. Rabbi was an Adam chashiv. The Rami lo Yaakov mina sama ashake, and Yaakov the min. I'm not sure if this is the same guy we met the other day, right? I'm not sure. It could be anyway, because he was much earlier. He was much earlier. So this is Artsko says it's a different guy. So this is Rami lo Yaakov mina sama ashake. He put some type of a salve on his thigh, on his leg. Rav Ami Ravasi de lachuche the shake, and if not, Rav Ami Ravasi who literally licked it off his leg, passed the shake, his leg would have fell off. So you see that that Rabbi Vo was very chashuv. Guys, we met Rabbi Vo. We spoke about him. The beauty of Rabbi Vo, like the beauty of Rabbi Vo was like the beauty of Rabbi Yochanan. Yeah. Anyway. He's a very handsome man. He would go to the government. He would deal. The women would sing to him. He was a very chashuv guy. So the Gemara is a kasha. You tell me other chashuv different. You see, this Yaakov Mina was doing him in anyway. He was not a chashuv, and nonetheless, what? You see, you got to worry. Either he was not a chashuv, you still have to worry. That's what the Gemara asks. And for the Gemara, the Rabbi Yochanan Reifi Mumcha Habe. Okay, so one answer we said what is Rabbi Yochanan? She was an expert. Good. That would take care of it. Again, what did Tosfos say? All of these things are not by regular doctors. But if a doctor's an expert, then what? Then you don't have to worry. For the Gemara, the Rabbi Nami Roife Mumcha Havi L'chayra this min was a mumcha. So l'chayra, why would he kill him? Shiny Rabbi the moik mi be mine binafshayu, because the minim they were able to go ahead and they would apply the following pasuk to them. Thomas nafshi implishtim. Very famous line, fellas. Shimshon says, Thomas Nafshi and Plishtim. In other words, I'm willing to die to kill my enemies. Right? This person, this Yaakov the Min, Rabbi Vo was terrible. He would take care of the Minim. Right? He was very, very involved in taking care of them. So he's a mumcha. But guess what? He'd rather die. He didn't care about his reputation at all to get Rabbi Vo. So therefore, Einachinami. Rabbi Yochanan was not a problem because Rabbi Yochanan was a Yachid mumcha. The woman was a Yachid mumcha, right? And now we're saying that he would be. Amar of Shmuel. Okay, now the Gemara is going to, guys, give a bunch of remedies. Okay, so a lot of them are very strange. So I'm sharing with you what I shared with you the last time when we said this in Masechta Gittin. I shared with you the same. Okay, I sent it out. It's a Chedushay Rabbi Akiva Ega, and you have your phone. It's Siman Shin Lamed Vav. It's Siman Shin Lamed Vav. There you go. Nas the Torah Rishus the Raife. The Torah gives a Raife Rishus. Everyone have it? I'm going too early. You have it? Nas the Torah Rishus the Raife. B'maril b'lekutei shebeseifa sefer. Isya b'zel shaynai. Amalanu maril. Kala refuah shebechal talmid. All the refuahs mentioned in the Gemara. Asa l'nasleis eisam. It's asa to test them. Mishum de'ein adam yachal lamoid al ikron. A person can't possibly go ahead and actualize al ikr. The main, we don't know what they are. We don't know the ingredients. We know the amount. And when they're not successful, they'll begin to scoff and make fun of the words of the chachamim. But there is one exception. At the end of Perik B'Ma'isha. If a person has a bone stuck in his throat, maybe min, bring from the min of that bone, and put it on his head, and say the following incantation: Chad chad nachis bola, bola nachis chad chad. Literally, one slowly gets swallowed. Bola nachis chad chad. The halachish hazeh says the Maril, this lachash, this incantation, bodik umenusa. It's checked out. It's worked. Levad matiroi. Only this one alone could you use. Nothing more. You can't use anything more. So it's a Rabbi Kiva Eiger bringing down the Maril in Siman and Shulchan Aruch, which discusses the halachas of a roifeu, right? So we're going to have now a bunch of different cases. We're going to have a bunch of different cases over here that are they're just a little. It seems bizarre, but again, so there's these were Chizkiyahu hid the sefer. He hid it. He hid the sefer Reifim because he wanted people not to be talking like Kadosh Baruch Hu. But he didn't hide it from everybody. He hid it from people who would not be talking. The people who would have be talking, he didn't hide it from. And these remedies are from the sefer. These remedies are from that sefer Refuahs. So he didn't have to hide it because it wouldn't help us anyway, right? But anyway, be that as it may, this is fascinating. This is where it comes from. Says the Gemara. Amashmul, hi pidasa, a person that pidasa Rashi says it's a wound that was caused by a sword. Sakantahi, a person is in sakana. Umachal unless a Shabbos, machal Shabbos. Mayasusa, what's the remedy? Lemifsak dama, to stop the blood. What's the remedy to stop the blood? So tachle b'chala, you should go ahead and drink. Tachle is cress and vinegar, and that's to stop the blood. If you drink that, it's going to stop the blood. La suke, but to make it better, girda the yavla, scrape something from the yavla, the girda the asana, and a girda of a thorn bush, a nikre mikalta, or the pecking of a chicken from a garbage dump. All these things will go ahead and cure the wound. Amrav Safra, Hai Invisa. Rashi says that this is a boil that's the size of a grape. Parvanka de Malcha de Musahu. It's the messenger of the Malach HaMavis. So you have this, you're not in good shape. Maya Susa, what's the remedy? It's Tigna Bedufshna. You take the grass called Tigna, you grind it up, you mix it with honey, and you put it on the boil. Oikarpisa Bitilya, or you take wild celery and you mix it with strong wine. Adahachi, let's say until you get the ingredients together, Laise invasa basmina, bring a grape that is the same size, same color as the boil. Vinagre ilavai. Therefore, chivarte lechivarte, take a white grape for a white boil, luchamte, and a black grape for a black boil. Amarava, high simta, the article entices an abscess. It's a blister filled with pus. Parvanka de ishto, it's the foreteller of a fever. Maya susa, lemachia shisin is kalute. Just go ahead and hit it. Snap your fingers 60 times against it. Velakre shesi ve'erev, and then cut it shesi ve'erev. V'hani milid lechiver reshev. It's fine. It doesn't have a white head. A chiver reshev is the white head, less than blood, because then the pus is at the surface. You don't have to worry about it. Rav Yaakov Chosh, be pika. He was having problems with the pita bas. I mean, is where you go to the bathroom, right? Number 2. So he was having blisters over there or something like that. And Oirele Rev Ami told him, Bimila Rev Asi told him, Laise Shav Bene Ahola Tulana, take 7 seeds of red aloe, Vitsari Le Bechalolo de Beit Savata, tie them up in cloth cut from the neck of a shirt. V'lichre ilavei nira barka, wrap the whole thing with an animal hair. V'tamishle b'natfa chivara, dip it into white neft. V'likle, burn it. Ubodale ilavei, then spread the ashes on the area. Adahachi, but till you do this together to bring some relief, laisi kashyasa dasana, bring the seeds of the fruit of a thorn bush, and leinach pika lahade pika, and the slit of the fruit put against the slit of the pitabas. V'hani mili pika iloi, that's if it's outside. But pika tatoy, that's the upper one. But the lower one, then what? what's the cure for the lower one? Laisi tarba detzipirta ifsach, bring the fat of a goat that never gave birth. Ulapasha, melt it. Ulashadi bay, and smear it over the lower area. The iloi, and if you can't do that. Laisi tlas tarpa kora de miyavshe betula, bring 3 leaves of a plant, a gourd plant that was dried. The likle, burn it. The labadre lave, and spread it. The iloi, and if that's not an option, laisi mishkede chalzaina, bring them mussel shells. The Eloi, if that's not possible, Maisi Mishach Kira, go ahead and bring wax oil. The Lidgoi Bishake, the Kisna Bekaita, wrap in the rigs of during the summer in linen, with the Omer, Gufna Bisivasa, and cotton in the winter. Rabbi Avodah Chosh Be'udnei, he had an earache. Oirele Rabbi Yochanan told him, Bimila Be Midrash, it was the base measure that told him, my Oirele, what remedy did it tell him? Ki Hodam Abaya, Amrle Aim. Now Abaya is, again, Becho, right? Abaya stands for right? Becho, I always forget. Becho Yeruchim Yosaimim, I think, right? So anyway, so he's when he says aim, it was his nanny that raised him. And he was always Rabbi Van Achmeni, he says, because some say that wasn't his name. He was called after his uncle, Rabbi Van Achmeni. The reason that kidneys were created is the remedy for an earache. Amarava, Amali Minyume Asya, Minyume the Asya, the doctor told me, Kuloi Shakyona Kashu Leudna. All liquids are bad for the ear. Levarmi Maya de Kliyasa, except the fluid of the kidney. So what should you do? Lesi Kliyasa de Barcha Karcha, bring the kidney of a goat that has no hair. The licorice Shesi Veri, cut it horizontally and vertically. Balinach Amlala Denura, put it on coals. The Hanu Maya de Nafik Mine, and the water that comes, the liquid that comes out of the kidney, Leshiduni Bute, put it in your ear. Like Kriri, not too cold, Lechamimi, not hot. Elipshure should be what? Should be room temperature. If that's not possible, Lacy Tarbo de Chipushtod Gamlisa, bring the fat of a large scarab. Okay, that's what he says. Scarab. Vili Pasha Lashade Bay, melt it and pour it into the air. Viloi, Lamalia Laudne Mishka, put oil in the air. The Levat Shav Pisilasa das pasta, make 7 wicks of green. The Lacy Shufsa de Suma, and bring dried garlic leaves. The lacy barka bechadresha, tie with animal hair one end of the wick. The litle bunura, and light the other end of the wick. The idach resha meisu bu'udna, and then the other put. I don't not try this at home, I guess, and put it in your ear. The lacy udne lahadi nura. You should go near the ear, near the fire. The yizdaher misika. Be careful of wind. The nishkal chada v'nana chada. You have 7 of them. You do one. You do one at a time. The shnachrina v'iloi. And this is not possible. Lacy shop pisilta bikri, bring 7 wicks of animal hair. The shayfle mishcha das pasta, smear with balsam oil. The nice chadresha benura v'chadresha bu'udnei, put one in the fire and one the other ear. The nishkol chada v'nachachada, remove 1 wick and replace it with another wick. V'yistar misika, be careful of a wind. V'iloi, if this is not possible, lacy udara denada, le'mashkev, bring violet wool that hasn't been combed. The nonach bay, put it in the ear. The udne lahade nura, then places here near the fire. Uzdari mizika, again, be careful of a wind. If it's not possible, lacy gufta de kanya asiki bar meyashana, take a reed that's 100 years old, right? Uvalamle milcha galina, fill it with rock salt, velikle, and let it burn it. Bilavke, and put it in the air. Okay. The simenecha, and the simen for these is retiva levishta. If it's a cure that's moist, that's for a levishta, for a dry disease. The vivishta l'retiva, and a dry cure is for what? For a moist disease. Amar Rabbi Rav Zuta Amar Chanina, Malin aznayim b'Shabbos. You can put the ear back to its position on Shabbos. It seems if you get dislocated, you're able to do that. Tana Rabbi Shmuel by Yehuda biyad. Right? You can do it by hand avloi b'sam, but not through a sam. It can be the opposite. B'sam avloi biyad. My timer. It's misra sarif that what. If you go ahead and manipulate it with your hands, you're going to cause a wound, which is asa. Amar Suchavatuvya Amarav. Okay, here's get to the eye. Ayin Shemorda, a rebellious eye. Okay, look at Rashi. 3 lines down where it gets Y. What's a rebellious eye? Shemorda. Sheroitz Elotzeitz, the eye wants to pop out. Ka'adam HaMoired V'yatza. Seems to be some type of an eye bulging that the eye will want to come and leave the socket. So that's an eye that's an eye that's called murder, a rebellious eye, right? Ben Lenny's emes.
That's well known in thyroid disease. You have the eye propelling out of the socket.
Yeah.
Goiter, yeah.
Okay, so this wants to this eye is called rebellious eye. Muta lekoichola b'Shabbos. You can go ahead and put medication on Shabbos. Now again, medications also because shchikas samimonim that you may come to go ahead and grind up stuff. Yeah, savamine, right? Hani mili hu deshchike samonim meyetmo. That's only when can you do it? Is you had grinded up the ingredients the day before. Aval mishchak b'Shabbos, to grind them up on Shabbos, which is nisa deraisa. V'suye derech rishus harabim, and to bring a derech rishus harabim, which is nisa deraisa, loy. So in other words, you could, if you had it pre-prepared, you could do it. Provided A, you ground it before, and B, you had it in your house. But to grind it on Shabbos and to bring it on Shabbos, that not. And the answer is loy. It's not true. Amalei ahum rabbanon. He said, Rabbi Yaakov Shemei, L'didi mefarshim minei de Rabbi Yehuda, afilu mishchak b'Shabbos v'osi derech rishus harabim muta. Even if a person has this disease and the eye is coming out, you should go ahead and you can go ahead to make this eye salve. You can go ahead and grind ingredients and bring it on Shabbos. In other words, this is sakonas nefashos. Rabbi Yehuda shari lemichal eini b'Shabbos. Rabbi Yehuda, he permitted the person had a disease in his eye to put the salve in on Shabbos. Amlu Rav Shmuel bar Yehuda, matzoyes liYehuda machal Shabbos. Now, who's going to listen to Yehuda who's machal Shabbos? In other words, he disagreed with him in a very strong lashon. L'sleiv chosh be'enai. Guess what? Rabbi Yehuda bar Yehuda ended up getting this disease. So shalach le sharia asa. He sent to Rabbi Yehuda. He said mutar rasa. So shalach le Rabbi Yehuda sent back to him. L'kuli al mashari l'didach asa. Everyone else is mutar. To you it's asa. Why? You think I was telling you what I said? Demar Shmuel he. I was quoting Shmuel. Again, guys, Shmuel was an unbelievable doctor. Shmuel was an expert doctor. And Rav Yehuda, after the Petir of Rav, learned by Shmuel. I'm Rav Yehuda, I'm a Shmuel, all the time. So he goes, I was quoting Shmuel. Okay? Hey Amsa, Dahavi Bey Mar Shmuel. There was a maidservant in the house of Shmuel. The Kadchale Eina B'Shavata. Her eyes became inflamed on Shabbos. She was screaming in pain, and no one listened to her. Pokamine, and the eye, what happened? The eye taka, it burst. Lamacha, so it's a question, she either got blind or she died. Lamacha, nafik mashmul v'darish, ayin shemarda muta l'koich l'b'shabes, right? That an ayin that was rebelling, it's muta to go ahead and put the salve on Shabbos. My timer, the sharyuni the eina. This is really weird. The shayurna de eina ba'oivanta deliba tali. The eyesight is connected to the muscle of the heart. As I state,
They're talking about tendons, the tendons that rotate the eye.
yeah, that
have those ligaments have in common the ligaments of the heart. It's
the
the
first
same,
time the blog is being written in the middle of share.
right?
it's already getting up. I see that.
How many people have an expert like Lenny for eyes in the Shia to be able to do this?
World's expert, not stomach expert, world's expert. Unfortunately, we lost Doc Hillel by the beginning of this summit. He was here for a while, but he's out.
He went in to buy some salve.
To get some red aloe seeds, right? Okay.
Talk about the eye that Hill's expertise.
Right. Okay, Kigain Mai, Rav Yehuda, Kigain Rira. So these are some of the oil elements that people have that you can be on Chal Shabbos. Rira is if you have a lot of discharge coming from the eye. Ditza, if you have a pain in the eye. Dama, there's blood in the eye. Dimasa, the eye is tearing a lot. Vikitcha, or the eye is inflamed. Utchilas Uchla. And these on Shabbos, we get them early, La Fuke Seif Uchla, as opposed to the end, right? In other words, it's much better to get it earlier, right, at the beginning than at the end. Upatsuche eina, or to make a person's want delay. So patsuche eina, that to improve one's vision, that we said not. Rav Yehuda, zibura, if you're stung by a zibura, some type of wasp or hornet, udecharze silva, or you have your skin, you got a thorn in there, the symptom, you have a blister, with the kavle eina, you have an eye that hurts him, piyase ilave ishta, and these are going to bring about a fever, kulube bani sankanta. All of these cases, you should not go to a bathhouse. Okay, this continues tomorrow. Lot to look forward to.